Who is this? What's your operating number?
Hello there.
Hello there. I'm Shelby.
I'm Chris, and we are the owners of Invasion Cards and Comics in Richmond Hill, Ontario. And this is Hello There Radio with Flake.
Hello there.
General Kenobi.
Hello there. It is, in fact, another episode of Hello There. Very simply, I've got two very important people here. This is Chris and Shelby of Invasion Comics and Cards. Gentlemen, how are you doing?
Yeah, doing well. Thank you. It's the
Good
first
so
time I've ever
far.
been called important.
Hey, it still is so weird when somebody's like, hey, you're important. You matter. It's like, what have I done? All I do is play cards and get
I know, right?
It's,
Like,
listen.
You sure you meant me?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, you want my time somehow. It's incredible that people want to listen to me speak. But again, I digress. I want to get into the weeds here, as you guys are the owners of Invasion Comics and Cards, who are so intimately
Ooh.
linked now to ICR, to Ice Cave Radio. And again, I want to thank you guys so much for that, for being supportive. And before we dig into the nuts and bolts of it all, which would be what got you into TCGs, etc., I do want to say that having gone to your store, having met you guys in person, having talked to you guys, my first introduction to Invasion was actually not Star Wars related. It was Flesh and Blood related, because you guys are sponsoring a pro Flesh and Blood team of, dare I say, absolute sluggers. Like, just insane talent. Canada is a very talented country when it comes to Flesh and Blood, and you guys are sponsoring, like, we're talking world's top 8 finalists, like like potential, like Pro Tour calling winners, national champions. It's incredible. So
Yeah, it was a shock to us too.
Get bigger.
well, now you guys are dipping your toes into Star Wars Unlimited, but even before that, I want to ask you, and we can start with you, Chris, is how did you get into card games in general, and how did that lead up to, let's get to it, which is opening Invasion?
Starting with cards was, well, I'm old, so I started with the original base set Pokemon, and I actually knew nothing about Pokemon, but we was just kids hanging out, and we went to a card shop, and my friends pushed me to buy a pack of cards, and I opened a Charizard in my very first pack of cards that I ever opened for anything, and to immediately say I was addicted, I instantly is an understatement. I'd never stopped with cards ever since, and I actually still have that Charizard.
It seems like easy mode at that point. Like, the beginner's luck fallacy is no longer really a fallacy. Like, it feels like it becomes truer every day. And for you, Shelby,
Yeah.
what got you into it?
Again, we're about the same age, so I was kind of the same area of starting. I didn't collect as heavy as him. Like, I know in our teens he was still going, I wasn't. But once the store became a thing, and that, it just... Is there a rehab center?
Look,
I think we need help.
well, I think we're all here. This is the support group, by the way. I just want to let you know. We meet every day, frankly. It's not even a matter. And when we're all trying to sort of get over this quote-unquote illness of card games, we actually just end up playing cards and forgetting about it, which is the right thing to do. And
Oh, yeah.
The pack and it goes away.
basically, I mean, when your luck starts with a first ed Charizard, like, where else can you possibly go from there?
Oh, it was all downhill. I've never opened anything as good again.
Well,
Hey,
In like 25 years, and it's all been downhill. But I'm still
one-
here, and I'm not going anywhere.
that Arcane first case, you had some good hits.
Okay, that Arcane first case was actually obscene.
but that was a first case. Again, the beginner's luck fallacy. I want to give you a little minor story about Charizard, okay? So when I was a young lad, I would babysit my 2 younger cousins, and they were into Pokemon cards. I wasn't really, but my aunt used to buy a box, and every time they would do their chores for the day, they'd get a pack and whatever. So I remember I basically babysat them for a few hours at their place while their mom ran errands and whatever. And when she came back, she's like, "Oh, how were they?" I said, "Oh, they were great. Okay, everybody gets a pack of cards. Thank you for behaving." My 6-year-old cousin opens his pack, opens a first ed Charizard, and I'm like, "Oh my god!" I'm like, "I know that's amazing." He's like, "Cool." Folds it in half, puts it in his pocket, and walks away.
Oh my god!
Yeah, I was like, All right, okay. Like at the time, it doesn't really rattle your bones the same way it does today. But that is, yeah, that moment lives rent free in my mind right now. So
Me too now. So thank you.
yeah, well, you still have yours without a crease. Yeah, which is great. So let's talk about opening Invasion. Whose idea was it to open Invasion?
He called me at fucking 7 in the morning one day. Oh my god! It was like it might have even been earlier, and he's like, "We should do something."
Well, and
It basically led to this.
you know what? Like,
yeah, it kind of works.
getting a phone call at 7 in the morning of like we should do something usually ends up being like, okay, well, we'll go scoop up some like Tim Hortons and then figure something out. You guys opened an entire store to our benefit as like a community. I have to ask though, like it seems like a risky venture, and even in a city as big and vast as Toronto, you know, like 4 or 5 million people, it seems that the competition is always there. Did you feel like there was a risk involved in opening this, or was this more so just a come hell or high water, this is what we want to do, we're just going to see it through?
Well, there's always risk with everything, and then like we just wanted to and say honest, excuse me, but f- the risk. Like I've been poor before. If this fails, I'll be poor again. It's not the end of the world. If it succeeds, I get to do something cool, and I'm down with that. And so far, everyone seems to like what we're trying to do.
That is the vibe I get when I go in there. Not of like F it all. Like if we fail, we
Yeah,
fail.
sorry.
No, you're good. We will.
We're a little.
Yeah, well, when I upload this to YouTube, there is a thing of like, is this child friendly? And now we have to go to the no section. No, we're gonna.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, we're gonna have to bleep some stuff out. But the fact is that you guys are who you guys are, and that's the first thing that I appreciated walking into your store. Like I feel that.
Can we put like Wookiee noises over him when he does it?
I usually do like duck quacks, but it might. You know what? We'll do like the Babu Freak hey hey. I think that could be a good one.
I like it.
We'll try to fit that in there. So the question here is that you guys are Invasion CNC, comics and cards, or is it cards and comics?
It's actually a little ambiguous. It's kind of whatever you want to make it into. That's kind of where we went with it intentionally. Like we do have ideas behind it, but there's not one set thing for it.
Okay.
And then it can be Command and Conquer because of all the fab we do here too. But
Sure.
it's really whatever you want to make it.
But I'm not wrong, right?
No, you're not wrong.
Okay.
What is it actually? Because I can't remember at this point.
Comics and Cards was the initial, but we abbreviated again just to be open for anything.
So in the ad that we run at the beginning of Ice Cave Radio is this, this maelstrom of cool stuff that you guys got going on there. When I walked in there, I myself am a huge comic book collector, or used to be. Like I used to educate myself on the comics, grading, prints, things like that. When I walked in there, it was not just the fact that, hey, I'm looking at all these amazing cards that are on display. I was looking at that abundance of awesome Star Wars U singles that you guys had, like this massive inventory of singles that no one else in Toronto had. Like that is just a fact. But beyond that, my eyes got caught by the fact that there's these graded comics, these comics from like the Golden Age, the Silver Age, like all this, like this rebirth of amazing comics that are old and new, all available. What is your specialty? Is it cards? Is it comics? Like, where do you guys think you guys are sort of well established?
It's whatever you guys want. Like we try to cater as much to everybody as possible, basically.
Yeah.
That's
so like haven for whatever happened to be into in nerd culture.
Sure.
You can even see Will Ferrell still hiding in our ceiling.
I saw him.
Oh,
I see him there.
He's hanging out right there.
You could barely see him. I'm gonna see if. Hold on. I'm gonna do a little quick on the fly editing of in my recording studio. You could see him right there. You know what? We're gonna keep him in frame actually because it's funnier that way. So he is now in frame. Yeah, Ron Burgundy is there. So that said, all right, so you guys it's whatever we want it to be. But what was the the net that you guys are casting isn't as wide because you guys are specializing in certain card games, be it Flesh and Blood, but more specifically, I want to talk about Star Wars Unlimited because there's a lot of there was a lot of concern surrounding this game, and I think a lot of it was justified, obviously, based on some of the background of FFG. What was the initial thought process of when you hear about this game, about discussing getting into this game from a business standpoint?
High risk, high reward.
Like even when we got in, it's Star Wars. We're both fans of it, so like we wanted to go nuts, but we tried to not, and we tried to be cautious with like the amount we kind of grabbed at the first like load we had, and I regret doing that. That's basically what we went at light, and light was a bad idea. From my understanding with like the distribution, everybody kind of did that at first, and then the 2 days that it was out and distro had it available were about the last 2 days that it was available. So everybody kind of ordered small and then realized like, okay, this game's solid, and took 2 days for everything to kind of just disappear.
Yeah, you're telling me. Well, like this was one of the major discussion points that I've had with not just card game players, but also other store owners or store managers that I'm friends with that were a little bit on the fence about it, to the degree of like, it was not just we'll carry a bit. It was, no, we're waiting and seeing what set 2 looks like if it happens, and you guys jumped on it. And like I had mentioned earlier, when I walked into your store to go play a local, you guys were sorting cards, you guys were ripping packs for inventory, and I was happier than I'm going to get bleeped out here too now. I was happier than a pig in shit, man. Like, it was incredible because you guys were just like, if you want to help me rip packs, like, we need it for inventory. And there I was just opening stuff, and it was incredible. But I want to ask you whether the confidence in the game now is such that you guys are almost specializing in Star Wars Unlimited.
There's definitely a lot of confidence in this. The cards are beautiful. The community that's already developed is so solid and strong. Like, we have brand new players to TCG that have never touched anything, but because it's Star Wars, they want in, and they're competing against people that have done some pretty big things over the years with other games, and no one ever feels left out. Everyone's happy to teach each other, happy to grow the game together. And like, to build that quickly is honestly something special, just based around the IP they're using and the game just genuinely being good.
I think at the crux of it, that is always almost like the linchpin to it all. Is like, if your foundation is weak, nothing you build on it is going to last. And the fact that the game is so damn good. Like, I was I was having this discussion with Charmer and Doa literally about half an hour ago privately, where we're just discussing, content and moving forward and tournaments and, casting stuff. And we're like, you know what? Like, we're just happy to be here. It's such a weird feeling to be like, we don't feel like we're entitled because we were there and supporting it from the beginning. It's just a matter of like, dude, just so much room for everybody to jump in on it.
It's nice. It's nice to see that it's like hitting the big circuits already, kind of too. And the turn, like with some games, it took a while for that to happen. With Star Wars, I noticed they jumped right in, and there's some decent tournaments already happening throughout the States and everything.
It's a great aspect to this as well. Like, once those competitive juices are flowing for a game, it really not just, I don't say revitalizes, it just like adds, kerosene to the fire. Like, it spreads like crazy. It's an explosion. And the problem now is that the bottleneck being supply, and you guys are so well versed with all the distribution aspects of it. You guys are business owners, various businesses, frankly. This is not just your first business venture, but it's the one that we know, it's the one that we appreciate, and it's the one that we might not understand completely, because the toughest part about this oftentimes comes down to the fact that people will be cautious, especially if FFG has the reputation that they did, that, in my opinion, I think that they've kind of dunked on now, that the game is good and they're really flowing with it. But beyond that, it's just a matter of people who were rightfully cautious and kind of took a sideline approach to this now can't get product. So I want to ask you guys, because you guys have been in my ear constantly about how hard you guys lobby to get product from wherever the hell it is. So, like, I want to ask you, what your initial stock was, because you said you were a little disappointed with yourselves for not going harder at this at the beginning, but what was that first wave that you guys picked up?
You did that order. I don't remember it.
It was like 10 or 15 cases, which is on pretty low end for us.
Well,
yeah, and then we called back 2 days after to get more. I think they gave us like 3 more cases. So and like with the initial 10 to 15, I think we only ripped maybe 2 just so that like people would have the chance to get the boxes, and then like we could fill in those little gaps of singles. And it was funny because usually he's a little more cautious than me. Yeah, I know you're already laughing at this one. Like I'm like we ripped the boxes. He's like, okay, this is fun. So I just went out and tried to find whatever I could to rip. And yeah.
Well, because here's I want people to know about this as well, because when you guys were laughing about the fact that you guys picked up, 100 boxes or approximately 100 boxes total, like for that first wave, and kind of giggling about the fact that I know that when you guys were picking up some fab product, like you guys were talking about not cases, you guys were talking about skids, like absolute like pallets of cards. You're like, yeah, we picked up a couple pallets. It's like, what? So
yeah.
This is you guys being cautious and you guys kind of being a little bit reserved.
Yeah. We like to open things.
Once we get there, there's no stopping it. Like that, we're starting to talk set 2 numbers. The rumors were that was going to appear over the weekend for pre-order for us. It hasn't. Yeah. I've called the rep twice and I haven't heard back from him, so I'm just waiting on that.
It's probably blocked us from all the calls we make.
Yeah. Honestly, I was when there was supposed to be that second wave, he's like, oh, it'll be here on this day. And I called him every day until it arrived. And then he's like, okay, it's here. I'm like, okay, we'll be there in an hour.
That's the best though. That's service, right? Like that's a good thing. So the problem here is that the competition for acquiring product, we feel it as players here on this level of trying to find cards and trying to go ahead and scoop up as many packs as possible. And I mean, I'm going to be completely honest with you. Like I played a store championship or store showdown this past weekend. And unfortunately, what I was hearing from some players is that why are you playing this deck instead of this deck or this? And a lot of it came down to the fact like I didn't have the cards necessary to play Boba Fett, or I didn't have the cards necessary to play this. There was a lot of Sabines or Leias because they're cheap decks to build and cheap decks to play. But so the competition is there for us as consumers, as the people purchasing the product. But what we might not understand, that I'm hoping you two can enlighten us on, is that there's competition as well from the store to the distributor side. Can you talk to us a little bit about what goes on when, let's say, your distributor, your supplier is saying, okay, we're getting new product, so put your orders in. It's not as clean cut as saying, give me this many pallets or this many boxes or whatever. Can you talk to us a little bit about the behind the scenes supply issues?
How honest do you want me to be here?
Well, whatever.
I mean, leave out some names, but you're pretty well good to go. So
I was gonna say, yeah, we don't want to do names. We don't want to throw anyone under the bus. But what we want is a little bit, perhaps, of the curtain pulled back of the process, so that we understand perhaps a little bit about how this goes. And look, if you wanna get greasy, man. Like we're not gonna hold you back.
All right, so Star Wars is a little new to make a full judgment call on. It's a new game. Everybody's trying to get involved. They're trying to split this up as evenly. There's no big guy yet. That's kind of the way I have with Star Wars. And then games like Bandai games, you got to fight in, and I can order. What was it? Oh, you know what? Actually, no, we won't go Bandai. We'll go with Arcana. That was an ugly one. I was like, you know what? I'm going to order a stupid amount of boxes. And I ordered like 100 boxes, and they gave me like 10.
Yeah.
Well, so this is a little bit of a conversation I've had 100 times about this particular thing. there were situations where like some of the big names, like some of the bigger suppliers, and I'm not talking about just Canada, I'm talking about the US as well. Like I'm friends with a lot of really big time, some of the biggest suppliers of like, like min-max games when it comes to Flesh and Blood or whatever. Like they're not small potatoes in any way, shape, or form. They're not
Huge.
Star City Games, but like they were relegated to like, they said like, oh, we wanted like 500 boxes of, as many as we can get our hands on, and we got like 50, like and that's with us calling in every possible favor. But even I think it was like even like Star City got like something like 200 or 300. Like it was an S show, to say the least.
I actually told one of the distros off the other day just because, man, like I told them I'm buying them a calculator for Christmas. It was what was it? One Piece? It was One Piece. Yeah. Cases come in. Cases are boxes. Cases are 12 boxes. And I pre-ordered like 36. They're like, we're gonna give you 23. I'm like, so you're gonna open a case, take one box, fill it with packing supplies, reseal it, and then send it to me?
Is that what they did?
Yes.
Okay, well that seems a little bit odd.
So I
can just
yeah.
just give us one more.
Distros are just they're really weird. Like there's nothing you can. I don't have a way to describe them.
Is
a lot of it that they told us that it plays into is like age of store and then amount spent, and then they don't allocate you product, so you can't spend anything if they're not going to give you anything. And then if you can't spend anything, you have no product, you can't grow your store. So they really do put a wall in front of you that you just have to try and grind through. And it honestly seems sometimes impossible.
A while. Like I remember one distro we wanted to get in with, and they're like, "Yeah, you got to spend 10 grand, or we're not even going to look at you." And I'm like, "You don't even have $10,000 worth of product I want."
Well, that's what it's like, I'll take this, and that like used Tercel over there, like it just to get us honestly, over the hump,
I made a cart on their site with like everything that I could. I think it totaled like 2,000, and I'm like, man, until you guys restock or start allowing us to have these items, I can't build that cart.
Yeah.
So with that in mind then, because a lot of the ears that are going to be listening to this are going to be desperately wanting to know what the restock of Spark of Vermilion is going to look like, because we got or apparently we got a wave of sort of extra cards or extra print and whatever. And look, this is not, and I want to be very clear about this, this is not something that, in my opinion, is necessarily on FFG in their anticipation of the game, because from their perspective, they have printed more Spark of Rebellion than they did of every other card game I think that they ever did. Like they printed this to the moon and people gobbled it up. And the way I think about this is that I bought a case and I could not find any more. If I found more, and look, that said, I am satisfied with a case. It doesn't matter. It's not about need, it's about want. I would have bought a second case if I could. So everybody who's out there saying, like, why didn't they just double the sales? The people who bought as much as they did would have doubled their orders and bought even more. So it's like the same people would probably have been iced out of the product from my perspective. But from that point, with your guys' knowledge of distribution, allocation, etc., what are the prospects of seeing more Spark of Rebellion on the shelves?
So I do most of the phone calls with the distribution. We each kind of handle certain things. This one I've kind of taken into. With that last wave, what my understanding was there was like, I can't remember the exact amount, but like, let's say 10,000 boxes within North America. And I can give you the exact count that came into Canada that I was told was 1,440.
Okay. That's
and
not a lot.
Yeah, it wasn't much. I think we got on that wave. I think we got 8 to 10 cases.
We got 8 cases on that wave.
Okay, and that's
because we ordered 30.
Yeah, where's the other 14? Where's the other 1,400?
Well, that's a curiosity that I also like very much want to get to the bottom of, and not purely because I want to buy and open cards. It's just, it seems like, there can be difficulties acquiring product that are not the fault of the LGS. It's not the fault of the brick and mortar mom and pop kind of card store that everybody's been going to that goes and supports the locals and whatever. Like that's been a challenge that I've witnessed on so many different levels where it's like it's the store would do it if they can. And like we want to run drafts, we want to do weeklies, we want to give prizes, we want to support and pump up the community. We just do not have the physical supply of product to do that. And the long term or even medium term kind of consequence of this is that as cool and as awesome as Premier Play is, as great as it is to play standard and just play, a deck versus a deck, eventually, I don't want to say people get bored, but they want a change of pace. Like, you could eat steak every day, but eventually, cornflakes is going to change your palate and it's going to feel cool. So you kind of want to you just get a different feel for things, and you want to play draft or limited, but if you don't have product, you cannot support that. And that is what's, in my opinion, and I want to get your thoughts on this, is this harming the grassroots development of developing a culture, a gameplay? Like, it's like, oh, it's getting this game to the same level as a Friday Night Magic guarantee of people coming in and playing. I can see that Star Wars has the interest, it has the player base. It just doesn't have the bricks to build on.
I do find that mixing up, like from even with Fab, I'll use that as our best example because it is our more prominent game. We do mix up the game types throughout each week in each armory. We would love to be able to do the same thing. It is true. Like, even with the store showdown, I asked for one of those kits, and they're like, those were pre-release kits, and I'm like, what do you mean? Where is this kit that everybody keeps asking me about? And they're like, those were supposed to be used for pre-releases.
Yeah, it just seems like the demand and everything, like, eventually sometimes games just explode, out of their shoes to a degree. Like, the success of the game kind of outpaces it. Like, I feel like Star Wars Unlimited is almost a victim of its own success. And now here we are, and we're all just out there with our hands open, being like, just what could we get? Anything? Like, what could we get? But what we're getting now are spoilers for the next set. And I want to ask you guys what the supply situation will be. We could talk specifically about Invasion comics and cards, and how many you guys are going to get, or what you guys are anticipating for that.
We know what we're trying to get. We don't know what we're going to get yet.
We don't know what we kind of know what we're trying for, but we don't. Like, I called you yesterday, and we just like, what do we do? And like, I
don't think we're ready for skids, but we're getting close.
What is a skid, though? It could be a half skid. Maybe we are.
No, a skid from them, 6 boxes a case. Skid from them should be 100 cases.
Yeah, but they're taller.
I'm saying that's what I'm accounting for. It should be 100 cases for a skid.
You want to do a skid?
I don't think they're going to give us a skid. That's my concern.
Oh,
we're a skid and get a half a skid?
Hey,
that's what we'll do. We'll come in with a skid. We'll make them whittle us down to a half a skid.
Yeah. I think the standard negotiating tactic is ask for more, settle for what you want. So I think that's kind of where you're going with this.
Yeah.
And there's going to be that time where they're like, you can have that. We're going to be like, oh, shit.
Are you truly concerned that you'll have problems moving Shadows of the Galaxy product?
Not even a little bit.
Not even a little bit. I've made that mistake on other games where, like, it just not like our most high-end thing. And I was like, yeah, I'll take this much. And like, okay, here you go. And I'm like, oh, crap. Didn't like, you cut me on everything else by like 40%, like 40 to 50%, and this one you're just gonna give it all to me. I'm like, thanks. Was not expecting that to happen.
Well, I'll say this: Charmer Doe and I have already sort of put in our kind of letter of intent for at least a case each, so you can get that off the books. But ultimately, I think that there's going to be tons of people who are going to be, they'll flock to their LGS. But what I did, like a lot of other people did, is, especially for Spark of Rebellion, since interest was still kind of tempered on it, what they did was they kind of bought out their locals, because the locals didn't get much, and then they just scoured the internet. They're like, there's a place here, and everybody flocks there. Kind of like that the scene several years ago when everybody's out there playing Pokemon Go, and there's like a shiny that appears somebody, and you see this horde of people running through a field because there's like a Charizard. Everyone's like, ah! And then you see this giant way, he's over there, and everybody goes. Like, that's kind of what's happening with this. So
It definitely is.
well,
Yeah.
like what was awesome about this was when I went to the store and I was kind of rifling through what you guys were opening. I was like, I need this hyperspace, I need this hyperspace, I need this card, I need this card. I was kind of like putting them aside, and you were basically telling me like, okay, here's the deal. I'm not even going to input these into the inventory because there's a non-zero chance that they're going to get scooped up immediately. And a lot of the stuff did. There was like, I'm like, I need this card. I want this card. I want this, bombing run hyperspace looks amazing. And you're like, oh, well, we just
Don't feel bad about that one.
Yeah, well, it's all good. It's like, because you input it into the inventory like 10 minutes prior. I pulled it out. You're like, oh, it's already sold. But that seems to be the case of not just your singles. It's just everybody's singles. So from a business standpoint, is Invasion really leaning on Star Wars for, a lot of that, maybe not foot traffic, but at least, is it website traffic or what has Star Wars U done for the business in terms of, kind of helping you guys out?
It's done a lot of online growth, and which in turn, honestly, has led to a lot of people finding us locally that have been walking into the store. Like when the Wave 2 dropped and we announced that we had our Wave 2, there wasn't, quite honestly, there just wasn't a lot. So it was gone pretty quickly, but it was still weeks of phone calls of people like, hey, we just heard you got a Wave. But they found us for other things then too, because most people don't just have one game. Like when you're into cards, you're into cards. We got a lot of like Pokemon players, Magic players that found us, and it was the same thing over and over again because we opened in the middle of a pandemic. So they're like, oh, I didn't even know you existed. And like, yeah, I get that. Nobody was looking for an LGS in the middle of the pandemic because we weren't allowed to talk to people. So, it's helped everything, honestly.
And here we are. It seems like it's been the game's obviously success. Invasion has been, a big part of Ice Cave Radio in the past few weeks. But even prior to that, you and I, both of you and myself have been, we've been chatting. We've been looking to sort of get things going. So I want to ask about what the prospects are for Star Wars Unlimited, Invasion, and community. Like that sort of holy trinity of how that can breed potential success for everybody involved. And I'm really curious what Invasion's, let's say, midterm to long-term plans are with the game, because I know you guys have a lot of logs on the fire when it comes to Flesh and Blood and tournaments. You guys are involved with the Realm, who are just massive when it comes to big tournaments and stuff like that. You guys are basically partnering up to sort of bring that vibe into Canada, and that is a big project coming up for you guys. But how about Star Wars Unlimited? What is Invasion's mission from a community development standpoint, a competitive standpoint, tournaments, etc., when it comes to Star Wars?
The game plan is to just keep growing it with how we did Fab, and like building the community through the fact that we play the games, we like the games, we're hooked on Star Wars each too. That just really drives it in to make us want this to succeed, because it becomes more of a passion project than a work project. Like we want to make sure that there's a place for people to play, a place for people to get cards, as hard as that is right now. And when you can get your product and you can play your games together and you can hang out with people that are also into all those things, it makes things a lot more fun. And that's really what all this is supposed to be, is fun. We want to see if we can push it to a little bit more competitive. I know we missed out on the Showdown circuit because we didn't pre-release, but we will be. Yeah, I know. We will be doing everything we can going forward to make sure that we don't miss out on those larger events, so that we can help breed our little area into a strong community as well.
With the bigger events, one of the issues definitely that comes with that is the government of Canada.
I think that, yeah, I mean, for those who don't know what that limitation is, I felt it. I know that this is a conversation I've had with a lot of people, and like from the Flesh and Blood, organized play circuit, I think we're getting like our second ever Battle Hardened in Montreal at the end of May, and the game's been around for 5 years. And it's not like Canada's not producing players or producing anything. For freak's sake, the second or the first ever American national champion was a Canadian. Like, so let's just get real here. So can you explain, Shelby, a little bit what those limitations are?
I'm not like too versed in it, but I just like I know that like the prizing money just becomes an issue. With the two battle hardens like Montreal and Vancouver, you can see at the end it says travel stipulations, which is like just dodge around giving away money because I guess they consider it gambling.
It does fall into the gambling laws here, so you can't bet on yourself. It's still betting regardless, and then that moves a lot of the competitive circuit away from us. When you can go to America and play for big money prizing, and you come here and you can play for big money store credit.
Yeah, that has always just kind of tickled me the wrong way, and when I explain it to people, I mean, it's just like that is the end all of it, is that if you pay an entry fee into a tournament, you are now considered a gambler, and therefore there are laws surrounding it. There's stuff. That's why for those who have come to a Canadian tournament or whatever, even something like a ProQuest or a qualifier tournament, you have to get something in return that is of comparable value to your entry fee, so that it no longer becomes a gamble. You are getting value out of it. So it's such a murky water to trudge through, but it has also handcuffed this entire country from putting on something as simple as like a 5K, let's say.
Well, look at what Star City Games does in the States. The SGC Con, you have a weekend just dedicated to every game. You have Magic, Lorcana, Star Wars, Fab. In one big arena, you are combining 4 different communities with 5Ks, 1Ks, 10Ks, and then just come here and earn some store credit, because we suck.
Well, it's like I can understand the lawyeristic aspect of it. That's not even a word, but like the approach of saying, well, you're technically kind of giving up money for a chance to win more, and like, yeah, it's the same kind of thing. The problem is that a lot of them kind of will envision this as just one giant like game of ring toss at like the carnival or something like that, where there's skill, quote unquote, involved, but like how much of that is actually part of it? Is it as is it this kind of illusion of skill where you're kind of hitting like a slot machine and trying to think that you're doing something with it, and ultimately the outcome was predetermined? No, it's not. But that's how, unfortunately, the Canadian government sees this, and as such, it becomes such a difficult place to run something, like I said, as simple as a freaking 5K. Let me ask you this, hypothetically then, like if those laws didn't exist, what would be the first thing that you guys would just sort of try to put on?
Everything. I'm not. That's it. I'm gone. I'm doing everything.
It's like 5K. We're gonna do that first. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do that. Like, gosh.
If I want it, I would do it. That's it. I'd go for everything we could.
Yeah, like time and time again, we see the Canadian players ranking on world rankings across virtually every TCG. Like the player base is so strong here. We would absolutely love to just keep pushing more and more competitive matchups up here, like running 5Ks, 10Ks. It would just be fantastic for everything and put Canada in the spotlight on the TCG circuit for once, and not just a bit of an afterthought like most people make us out to be because of events we cannot run up here.
The way I kind of look at this is that, like you mentioned, Shelby, with the fact that like SCG is putting on these like these massive tournaments, like these massive events, like these weekend things, and they do them like once a month, right? And
I know, and it's like all over.
Well, and the thing about it is like, okay, they're going to like Hartford and doing one. You know what? You're literally like 4 hours away from a city that is, 10 times as big as Hartford, that has players that are going to Hartford. But like, again, a lot of people just don't understand that once you cross that border, you are just under this different jurisdiction. As much as I love Canada, for freak's sake, like, let us play cards, damn it. Like, I don't know how else to explain it. You know,
That'd be number 3. You almost went for it.
I almost did. Yeah, I know.
We
Oh,
have that
God.
effect on people.
All right. So before I actually do drop the next one, I do want to just, kind of wrap it up and ask you a little bit about what community means to you guys. You guys were right on board with sponsoring Ice Cave Radio, which really meant a lot to Doa Charmer and I, because for us, it wasn't just a matter of, is there a sponsor out there who's going to help us out and we'll just take anybody. It was, we were very selective, and there were some that we were just like, we're not interested. We don't know. We're not, this isn't our jam. But talking with you guys, and then Charmer had interactions with you guys and such, and Doa was on board. This was something much like my Flesh and Blood podcast. We, and pairing up with the Realm Games, like, you guys just felt like the absolute natural fit because of what you guys do for the community. Be it you guys hunting down boxes of cards, not to sell at like this massive inflated price. It's like, no, we're going to rip boxes because people need singles, and we're going to, do that. Or we need boxes because we want to run a draft, or we need boxes because, this, that, or whatever. Like, this is the one thing that you guys do well for community, is you guys are really out there to support it. But I'm going to ask you now, and we can start with you, Chris, is what do you deem to be a good community?
A good community is players that, like, honestly look out for each other, where they know, like, that they can come and play games, and they can come and be with people that are friends, even though they don't know each other, and everyone can have fun together. Like, at the end of the day, this all comes down to having fun. And I want to help and support and build that as much as I possibly can, because I get to open packs of cards for a living right now, and that's kind of freaking cool. So I'm going to do absolutely... Oh, yeah, now we're rated R. That's 3. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're good. Don't worry about it. Hey, we'll be in the trailer for Deadpool.
Want.
Yeah.
But the fact that they're willing to come to me to let me continue to do these things is so unreal. So, yeah, Shelby and I will go out and hunt down boxes. And we have paid those overpriced fees ourselves just to rip the boxes so that people can have those singles. Because one of the first things we were asked is, there's no product. How do we get singles? And then he and I decided, we will find them for you, whatever it takes. Everyone just... Sorry, go ahead.
That was hell. I went through 40
them, didn't we?
I went through 40 websites in one day, realized how much I hated using Binder, so I made a switch because all of our websites look the same. So we're currently reworking our damn site because of that.
Well,
Yes, I know. We'll have a new website in a week.
I've always wondered.
Yeah,
Because
somewhat.
a lot of the card shops that I'll go to the websites, they seem like, sometimes I have to double check what the logo is in the top left corner, because I'm like, this seems like a template. And I mean, don't get me wrong, it's easy to navigate because you know what you're doing, but at the same time, it doesn't necessarily stand out in any capacity. How about you, Shelby? What is a good community to you?
I'm not the technical one here, but basically the same thing he said. I'm just like, I'm more the hunter, okay? he does that stuff. I was actually away for a month, and I came in for ProQuest on Sunday. It was just nice to see everybody, even like being back in the store by itself, and everybody being like, "Good to see you," and everybody just like being friendly and just being around people like that, where it's not dramatic and stuff, is nice.
Well,
Everybody's just there and have a good time and stuff like that. And
cards are like a great equalizer, because you have like every walk of life of people having a common ground to meet and build a friendship on. And like, it's just nice to see that you can remove like any sort of prejudice. Honestly, there's such a diverse crowd in so many different games, and everyone can just have fun together and stop being mean to people for once.
Well said. I fully agree, frankly. The stop being mean to people is a great start. And when I was... No bullying. It's a great rule.
Unless it's Shelby and I to each other, that's fine.
Okay.
Oh man, if you catch us to each other, it's pretty brutal. Like, a match between the two of us is not like... That's worse than R-rated.
Well, the in-game banter and sort of the barbs you throw back and forth, like, those don't count. Like, within the confines of the clock of a game, like, nothing matters there.
That's true.
Yeah. I will say this. the community that you guys are building at Invasion is something really cool, and one of the little bits and pieces that I witnessed that was like, yeah, these are good people, was watching, and we were upstairs playing, and one or two, I believe, of the patrons that come to Invasion to come play were soccer fans, and you put on the soccer game so that they can watch at the same time. Now, the outcome of the game was hilariously lopsided, not in the favor of, we're not going to talk about it. We're not going to talk about it. But the fact that you guys were there and you're like, I know the person didn't ask. You just went up. It's like, I know you like soccer. I know this is your team. We're going to put it on the TV. And it was just and it even got to the point where somebody else just came to the store just to hang out and watch the soccer game. Like that is, that's gotta be one hell of an endorsement when the person is there to watch soccer with you. Like, it's just such a, it
was fun during World Cup, actually. We'll get back to that one, but yeah, we do that often.
Yeah.
Well, hey, I'm not in any way, shape, or form a soccer fan or aficionado or knowledgeable to any degree. But what I saw in that store and the people that were there were, owners who gave a shit. There's another one. Gave a shit.
Yeah, you're getting on the checklist too.
Hell yeah. About not just getting product and selling it and having, an influx of revenue, but just making sure that people were happy. And I think that a lot of it kind of gets lost in the sauce when you're worried about acquiring product and doing things. It's that the one thing that I can say is that even though you guys were like up to your knees in, updating your inventory, putting things away or whatever, the second that I was around, you're like, hey man, you need anything? Anything I can help you with? Like, what can I help you with? Or what's this? Or how are things? Whatever. Like, it felt great. And I want to, not just because you guys obviously sponsor the show or whatever, but like there's a lot of great store owners that are out there that a lot of people don't necessarily get to meet and understand the trials and tribulations of getting the cards into the store. Like, it is a challenge, and you guys have really risen to the occasion on it.
Wait till you see the 400 box opening
of Mistvale.
Yeah. You're coming. You get to suffer too.
I know. By the end of that one. I have said that I'm likely going to come on by and come and help you guys out of just ripping cards and stacking stuff, man. But like, I've done that. By the time
you're done 100 cases, you're gonna hate Mistvale.
Well, I hated Dusk Till Dawn because I was in Ohio helping Realm rip like 100 boxes of that, and I think myself, I opened about 20 to 25. I didn't open a single Fable, so my streak continues of futility on that. I'm just warning you. This isn't for my benefit. It's for yours. Do you really want me polluting those cards with my cursed hands? Because like, I don't think that it's going to work out the way you want it to.
See his f***ing giggle.
Right. So heavy hitters. He did not hit a single Fable on heavy hitter.
How much did you open?
125 cases.
And not one in all those cases?
Oh, there was 5 total. He just didn't get to open.
Oh, you didn't get one. Okay. All right. So this is a Shelby thing. It's not like an Invasion thing. All right. Well, hey, if like our powers combined, maybe like together we cancel each other out. Like, it's completely possible.
Negatives.
Yeah. Hey, I went to high school science class. I know 2 negatives make a positive, I think. I don't know.
I went to a couple classes. I think that sounds about right.
Want to touch base on that whole idea?
What, high school?
No, not high school. The other name.
Hopefully that's gone.
The other name that we were potentially looking at. Oh, that would have been so funny.
Oh, well, we're going to get to that. So we do have a segment that we're going to get to called Shoot from the Hip. Are you two gentlemen ready to shoot from the hip?
Have we not been?
No, you've been ready to go. So when you're ready, give me the finger guns so we can make this happen. Pew pew.
I hope you're still paying attention, because now I'm going to tell you the most important.
All right, it is time to shoot from the hip. A little rapid fire questions for Shelby and Chris, owners of Invasion Comics and Cards. And the first question is, and Chris, you go first on this one. What card can you just never keep in stock? Which one just flies off the shelf the second you put it up?
You're gonna have to forgive me. Any game period, or are we talking Star Wars?
Any game period. And if you want to give a bonus Star Wars card, you can say that as well. But any card, any game.
Give the fastest over any game, and then always give a Star Wars one.
Good call.
To be honest, I think it's actually Star Wars anyways. It's bombing runs. They're gone immediately.
Really?
I
You
don't
tried
know.
to buy one, we couldn't even give you one.
Yeah, that is true. You
only
snatched it out of my
yeah.
hand. You're like, nope, this got sold. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shelby, you concur?
I'd say there's about 4 Star Wars ones that are just, oh my god, they are so fast. Red 3, U-Wing, Bombing Run, and there was one other one that's usually really fast, and I can't remember what it is.
I have a crimped, like, miscut Ewing, and I'm now thinking that maybe I'm sitting on some sort of minor gold mine here.
Oh, that's the hotness right there.
Yeah, hell yeah. All right. Next question is, and Shelby, you fire off first on this. What were some of the alternative names bounced around for Invasion?
Dropout Comics.
Yeah, that's the one I was gonna say.
Oh, now it all comes full circle. Okay.
I gotta throw this in. One of the most common questions I get asked while being here is, so how did you study this? What school did you go to? I was like, I didn't even finish high school, homie.
But hey, passion, work ethic, and, a good moral compass, good things happen, dude.
So far, yeah.
It's just one of the more comical names we had.
Well, I can see a little bit of the backstory there, the lore, as they say. Look, I have a university degree in political science. Ask me how many times I use it, and also ask me where the diploma is. I have no idea. I don't even know where it is. All right. Next question, actually, which is hilarious because, Chris, you kind of alluded to this. You didn't even see the notes, but the next question on the list is, what is the most frequent question you get asked at the store?
Oh,
That's not even the most frequent. It always comes down to, like, where's products? That is always the most. If you can't see it on the shelf, where is this and how can I get it? Like, I'm trying. I promise.
Okay.
Can I say my most hated one?
Yeah, sure.
Are you okay if I do this?
Oh, you can say whatever you want, sweetie.
Charge tax.
Do you charge tax?
Yes, actually, no. You know what? I 100%. That is by far the most commonly asked question. And because we're a smaller store, a lot of people come in and they just assume that we don't have to charge tax when we lost our small supplier status years ago. And some people are accepting of it. They're like, cool, didn't know if you're brand new and you had to. Some people are like, well, I don't want to pay tax. And I'm like, do you pull this at Walmart, dude? Like, we are a legitimate corporation. We are not a small supplier. We have an accountant who yells at us if things aren't right. We have to charge tax. I'm sorry, I don't want to.
Thank God he never sees this because, oh my God, I get yelled at so much.
It just seems like such a unique approach. Look, again, I'm not a business person in any way, shape, or form, okay? But I know that, like, if I go into a business, I'm accepting the fact that we're slapping some percentage points on this bad boy, and I'm not. What you see is not always what you get. Like, I completely get it. I have been basically conditioned to expect that I'm gonna get hosed by some entity that I have some faceless ghoul of a government that's gonna just squeeze me like that.
Yeah, we're used to it now. We get it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's the same most places. I mean, Shelby, what's the question that? Was it the tax question?
That was Shelby. Yeah.
We try to come up with funny answers to it. Because it happens way too often.
It's like, no, man. Like, but you do have to do 40 push-ups in under 8 seconds, and then it's free. All right, next question is, Shelby, you kick us off with this one. What is your favorite card from any game you have ever played? this is a tough one. Like, this spans the ages of all time. Like, one of them I would say is I really loved Dr. Boom from Hearthstone like 10 years ago. Like, that card still resonates in my head. I'm just wondering what just kind of gets you going.
All right. This is funny one. This is more personal for all of everybody in the staff in the store, and something we just kind of did months ago.
I already know. Beautiful.
Yeah. So one of our buddies decided to get some cards graded, and he got nailed on a card like a 4. And I'm like, ouch, that sucks. So I think it was when we were at Canadian Nationals. There was a point where you could just see me running across the room to the vendors booths, and I ended up buying that card for $7. And then I got back to the table with it, and I started scratching it, and I bit it, and I like dented it up. I'm like, I'm gonna get a worse grade for you, and now we're gonna frame it in the shop, and I got a 2.
Hey, nice.
I just found out, like right before this phone call, I got a picture of it going into the grading station, and he's like, what did you guys do to this thing? And it's literally a token card, but it just means a lot to us.
I'd laugh.
That's not just any token; it's a cool foil copper.
That's a playable card, man. Like, you need those. Those look cool when they're on the board.
They're
I will.
So cool.
I will ask. I would imagine if that card came back as a 2, but it's like, all right, like surface 1.5, corners 2, edges 1, centering 9.5. Congratulations! Like, yeah.
Actually, I just got word that it was like that.
It's like the one thing that you cannot mess with. Like, you have no actual kind of a manipulation of, which is the centering. Everything else you could bite, chew, spit on, do whatever. But the centering, that comes from the printer, baby. You can't touch that.
Nope. I got word on it like literally before this phone call. He's like, your surface was a 1, but your edges and your centering were solid. I'm like, oh God, please let me be more than a 4.
It's like, dude, do me a favor. Just like literally just put it at the bottom of your boot and walk around the store for 10 hours and then then grade it. Chris, how about you?
It's going to come as no surprise. I talked about it a little bit. It was the first Charizard I ever pulled because that's what started me off for all of this. I didn't know, what was I? I was like 12 years old in 99. I had no idea that I would eventually have my own store. I struggled to even buy packs back then, let alone buy skids of them now. So that card, and still having that card, is definitely a special place in my heart, and it's not going to go anywhere. Even though 12-year-old me did not take the best condition of it. It's not folded in half, but it's not great. So that one definitely is the one that I'll always remember because somehow decades later it led to me being here.
Yeah, no, that
and then past that, cool foil CNCs are just beautiful.
They are gorgeous. Like, but yeah, that Charizard from my nightmares is like, it got like stuffed next to like a Toys R Us receipt in his back pocket. Like, I don't know. All right, last question. And whoever wants to fire off first on this one, what is your holy grail card or comic book? Now, everybody might say, hey, Amazing Fantasy 15, that's like the holy grail or something like that. But is that yours, Shelby? No.
Snowflame.
I don't know how much of this part is going to be able to be used. So
yeah, maybe we shouldn't go into
this
this one.
Is a real hero that was introduced in DC in the 80s. When you stress the 80s were a very different time. And when we opened the store together, Shelby bought me a present to commemorate us opening the store. And it's an issue of DC's New Guardians. It's graded 9.8. It's the first appearance of the supervillain Snowflame.
Hold on a second. I might know. Was this the one that when he like bit you or touched you, you contracted a disease?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Never mind. That's a whole other thing.
So Snowflame,
powers.
He does have physical touch powers. He has pyrokinesis. He has super speed. He is impervious to pain. And it is all controlled by whether or not he is high on.
Wow. Okay. Well,
very literally, this was a DC title that was released.
Okay. Well, listen, he was it was the 80s.
Yes.
So I just picture him pulling up in his Miata on his giant phone, like yelling "sell, sell, sell," and then and then fighting crime and stuff. Like,
Committing
It
crime.
was just
He was
one
the villain.
Oh, sorry.
this is one of the funnier things. When we found out about it, we're like, we have to have this.
The thing is wild. It was his first and only appearance. He lived and died in it. And then about 35 years later, they bring him back in a DC book as like just this small little bit in the end. Catwoman, I think it is, runs into him in South America. And she's like, Snowflame, you're alive? He's like, yeah, I faked my own death. I've been hanging out in South America for the last 30 years.
Makes sense. I mean,
Yeah, right. Yeah.
go to the source. Like, Superman is on Earth because we have a yellow sun that powers him up. Like,
Yeah.
let's get real. Go right to the source. So,
Exactly. He's been living his best life down there.
So is it safe to say that is like the collective holy grail for you both, which you both have?
We share that one. Like that one's just beyond ridiculous and fun and something between the two of us because it was a gift for opening the store together. Like that was so cool. If I had to, the actual holy grail for me though, 100% is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1. I've always been a huge Ninja Turtles fan, and I wanted to buy that book when it was reasonably priced, but I was, I'll go with the words poor. And then now it is incredibly expensive.
That was,
I still can't afford it.
Image Comics?
No,
or
it was so nobody wanted to
Black
pick it up.
or Dark Horse or
no, they had to start their own company because
wow.
everyone denied them. Eastman and Laird pushed it to every single publisher, big, small, independent. Everyone said no. So they started their own studio to release it because they believed in it.
Well, and now it's part of the cultural tapestry, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Incredible.
So I would love to have one of those.
How about you, Shelby? Are you? I mean, you listen. You already have it's hard to consider it the Holy Grail. You do have the Snowflame, like 9.8 graded. That's pretty solid. Wait. Which New Mutants is that?
New Guardians.
Oh, New Guardians. Damn it! I have the first 100 issues of New Mutants, and I was like, maybe I have it. Oh boy, yeah.
Get it.
I want it now for sure.
I know.
Go get it to show it because it's downstairs, right?
Is it in the safe or is it actually downstairs?
Well, what we'll do,
something like
we don't keep that one in the safe.
No, you should. Along with your all of your valuables should be in there. Frankly, but
we do have a very legitimate Holy Grail in the safe.
Well, how's this?
There's a big one in there.
What's in there?
Hulk 181
cameo, first appearance, and second cameo of Wolverine.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
Is Incredible Hulk like 181 or something like that?
180, 181, and 182.
Yeah. There's always like this big debate of because 180, I think one of the last panels is like you see the silhouette of Wolverine, and then he makes his full appearance in 181, which is man.
Yeah. As for like books, though, there's a couple that like. I've had them, I get rid of them. I have them, I get rid of them. But it'd be like ASM 300, 361, and 238.
Let me see if I remember these. So 300 is the first appearance of Venom.
Yep. There's one of those currently with the Hulks.
Okay, because I have a ASM 300 graded 9.2, I think.
So bad.
Yeah,
so bad.
I was like deep into this, and I got into collecting comics like before Iron Man the movie came out, like when people were still like soft on comics because the 90s explosion happened and everybody got like really weak on comic books. What was the other one you said? 238?
238 and 361.
Okay, so 238 is if I'm not mistaken, 238 is that like the death of the Goblin or something like that, or one of the Goblin sort of arcs?
Very cool.
First Hobgoblin.
Goblin, yeah, I knew it was a Goblin thing. Yep. And the other one you said was 361?
Yep.
361. Who wrote it? Is that Straczynski?
Oh my god, I can't even remember who wrote it right now. 360 that was just after McFarlane's run?
There might have been another writer in between.
Like if it might be like if it's J. Michael Straczynski, like he was one of my favorite writers, and I'm starting to think that wasn't like Back in Black or anything like that, like that arc.
No, symbiote stuff.
Oh, okay. Just tell me which one it is.
Carnage.
Carnage. Okay. All right. I wasn't even thinking that. Dude, those are solid, man. Those are solid. Well,
I remember you could be able to buy that book for like $10 like 10 years ago, and it was just now it's that one's crazy too. Even
well,
Yeah.
I bought when I said like the 100 issues of New Mutants, all I was hunting for was 98, the first appearance of Deadpool.
yeah,
And
yeah.
that book at the time was like $100 or $150, like if you get it ungraded. And somebody was selling the entire first print of 1 to 100, the whole thing for $100. And I was like
Cool.
$1 an issue. I was like, snap, go, yep, send it. I got this, and I have them all still. And the other thing is that 87 is the first appearance of Cable, which is pretty badass as well. So
Still a really cool book too.
yeah, it's awesome. Anyways, I could talk about comics until the cows come home. We got to wrap this up, but gentlemen, I do want to say first and foremost, thank you so much for being on the show, and beyond that, thank you for supporting Star Wars Unlimited and supporting Ice Cave Radio and all of what we do here. You guys are awesome, so thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hey, no worries. All right, so now's the time. Everybody who's listening to this, go to invasioncnc.ca. Use the code IceCave5. 5% off your Star Wars Unlimited singles, 3% off sealed product when you guys get some more. No problem, which you will be. You guys are going to be definitely stocking up on that. But you guys ship to America, right? You ship to the States? Yeah. So beautiful. There you go. There you have it, friends. Shelby and
We're
Chris.
gonna try and set up.
You guys.
I was just gonna say we're gonna try and set up an Ice Cave package for the second set. So
yes, stay tuned for that. There's going to be an Ice Cave bundle. And I will say this: get the hoodie. The hoodie is so freaking good.
It's so beautiful out there,
dude. It is so good. And I went for a walk today. I go for a walk every day. I busted it out. People are like, "Is that Invasion?" I said, "Invasion Comics and Cards. You pay attention." And that's it. So. All right, gentlemen, thank you so much for doing the show, and thank you, everybody, for listening to Hello There. And then we say bye-bye then. See you then.
So uncivilized.